Hello team, this is Joe Wazoo here. Hey, I thought today let's do something we did in a class last week that was really fun. And that is we took a thermocouple into our screen and we decided that when the thermocouple went above a certain set point, we would turn on a fan. And we did this three ways, and I want to cover those three ways in this quick video. So let me just start you from the basic here all the way up to this project. And you can go along with this in Crimson 3.2 and work this in demo mode if you want to. So feel free to ride right along. Open up Crimson 3.2. Hopefully you got the latest build, because that's what we're going to use to run this in a graphite G07 HMI. So I'm going to start up here in a file, go to New, and I'm using a graphite HMI here today. So I'm going to expand the graphite tree, and I'm going to use the G07. That's what I have here for this is the G07. They offer a sunlight readable. I don't know why the database matters for that, but anyway, I'm going to use the C00, and I'm going to click the OK button. All right, so here I am in this. I'm going to go over to the network here, and on the network settings, let me shrink this down a little bit here. Actually, you know what, team? I'm going to click on the base unit. Under expansion modules, I'm going to click on the base unit here, and I have two I/O cards in the back of this rack. I have in slot number 4, I have a Crimson control module. So I'm going to hit the green button right here next to this, number 4, and then it'll bring up the pull down. And I have a Crimson control module in slot number 4. So I'll click the OK button. And then don't worry about that hardware. We'll get to that in a second. And then down here where it says slot number 5, I'll hit the little green pencil button here, and I'll slide down. And on slot number 5 for this example, I have the GM UIN4, really cool 4 analog input card, and I got some thermocouples attached. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. All right, now I got this hardware thing down here that blinked at us. So if I click on hardware, it takes me to this page here, and I'm going to commit the changes. And what that's going to do, team, is it's going to add the I/O modules down here, and would also probably let us run some ladder logic. But I'm going to hit commit changes, say yes, and when it gets done, now you see I got I/O modules. So I go down here to I/O modules in the lower left-hand corner. I happen to have a Type J thermocouple attached to both input 1 and input 2. So input 1, I'll hit the pull down right here. I'll go down to thermocouple. It's a Type J, boom. And I'll do the same thing on input 2. Click the input 2 tab here. Hit the pull down here, go down to thermocouple, and change that to Type J as well. Perfect. All right. So now I'm going to go over here to data tags on the left, and I'm going to create a couple tags to look at these channels. So I might do a new right here, and I'll call this one CH_1. For channel 1, notice it's blue because I haven't mapped it to anything. So if I hit the source pull down here where it says internal, I can go down to module 5. Notice module 4 is not here because that's just a Crimson control key. But module 5 has some I/O stuff. So I'll click on this. I'm going to click on the input object, the status group, and I'm going to go for process variable 1, PV1. Click there, click OK. Now you notice it turned green. That's because it's the map to a analog input on our card. And since it's our own card, Redline software knows that, hey, that should be read-only. Perfect. Now I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of the smart duplicate, which just is half of what I wanted to do. If I click here on the smart duplicate, boom, puts channel 2. That's awesome. Smartly duplicated that, but it did not go to the next channel here. So we'll hit the pick button here. Choose PV2 for channel 2. Boom. There you go. All right. Now we want to test this. So I'm going to go over here to display pages. Here's the default page. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the world here. And I'm going to change the background color from black to white by right-clicking anywhere and go to properties here and hit the pull down. Change the background color from black to white. Click OK. All right. Now if I go over to the right side, go to data tags on the right side, I'm going to grab both of these by clicking on the first one, hold down the shift button, click on the other. I got those two tags highlighted. I'm going to grab these two Yahoos out here like this, and I'll make them be a little bigger like that. And then for speed of the video, I'll go ahead and make them bigger here, like so. All right, now we're going to test this, and I'm going to use the web server of this thing. So I'm going to go over here to the left, go to web server. I'm going to go HTTP for this, go to features. We're going to do enable row control, and I like the bare displayed scaled. I have some other videos on this, and that's a great way to look at it. All right, I'm going to be connected over Ethernet, so I'm going to go over here to Network. Actually, I'm going to go over here to Device Configuration, since this is Crimson 3.2. And in Crimson 3.2, under Network here, there's Ethernet 1. Since I have this directly connected to my laptop, I'm going to go ahead and make it be manual configuration and have that IP address. I don't know what my IP address is, but we'll find out here shortly. All right, so I'm going to go use the USB to download this thing. So let me turn on the USB. There it is. I'm also going to turn on the Ethernet connector. I guess it doesn't make a noise. All right, so I go link, pull down here, go down to options. I'm going to use USB. There we go. And let's go ahead and shoot it. Let's see what it does here, okay? Okay, so there it downloaded. Now I'm going to open up the DOS prompt here real quick here, team, because I need to find out what my IP address is, because I do not know. We're flying by the seat of our pants here today. Got that connected. That's connected. It's turned on. Okay, let me hit up arrow again here. Oh, hold on, team. This is not showing you the. Oh, you're making me mad. Okay. How come I. Hold on, let me shrink that down. There we go. Okay, there. My IP address is right there. So if I wanted to ping the HMI, which I believe is 192.168.1.20, let me check for sure. Back here at Crimson. Yeah, that's what I said it was going to be. So if I go back to the DOS prompt, hit enter, boom, I can see it. Awesome. So now if I go ahead and open up a browser and put in that address here. Awesome. Remote view. Let's take a look here. Hey, look at that, team. I don't know why that one's so far off. Who knows? There, I must have a loose wire. But hey, there they are. It must be a loose wire. If I touch channel 1, you can see it goes up and down, and channel 2 is currently there. Perfect. We're going to fix the decimal point real quick here by going back to Crimson. Left side, we go data tags, click on channel 1, and we know by looking at the web browser that it's certainly not 790 degrees where I am. That'd be a puddle of water, which would be nice, actually. But anyway, we're missing a decimal point. So if I click the Format tab, I'm going to go down here and pick numeric for my format type. And then I'll say down here, digits before, I'll change the 5 to a 3, and I'll put 1 after a digit here. And I'm going to say in this example that we're going to go between 60, which would be 600, to 1,000 degrees here. All right. Did that in channel 1. If I go to channel 2, I can just over here on the left, right click on channel 2, go to the copy from. I'm going to say, you know what? I want to copy all the formatting from channel 1 over to this guy. So if I click copy format, you can see my mouse looks like a regular mouse, but if I go over here, I got a trailing X. Crimson's asking me, who do you want to copy the format from? I'll click on channel 1, boom, there it goes. And that should have copied the formatting from channel 1 to channel 2. That's awesome. Go back to display pages, click, you see it kind of updates. More importantly, if I hit the Shazam button, let's download to that screen. Let's see what it does here. Awesome. So you can see I get a decimal point now. Works great. Okay, good. Now the goal of this is to say whenever the so-called temperature goes above a set point, I want to turn on a fan. And the fan I'm going to use, well, I don't even know if I have that here. Hold on. Let me go over here. Oh, I don't have a fan. Well, let's quickly make a fan. I thought I had a fan graphic you could see, but I don't have one. So what I'm talking about the fan. What do I mean by fan? Well, if I go over to the right side and go to symbols on the right side, and this is Crimson 3.2, so that's why it's out of here. If I go into the blowers, etc., there's a couple, about 5 or 6 rows from the top. There's a couple cool fan animation frames, 1 and 2. Those are the fans I want to use. Now, to make this happen, I'm going to go ahead and click on one of the fans one time, and I'll drag out maybe this one here. And that's going to be the picture that I want to show off when the fan is in the off image. So if I double click on this guy and go to its properties, you see down here, team, where it says display state, I'm going to have a tag called fan. And when fan equals 0, this is the image I want to show. So I'm going to ask the question here, does fan equal 0? So I'm going to do fan. I'm going to actually type this fan space 2 equal signs because I want to ask the question, does it equal 0? And then I'll put a 0. If that equation is true, this is in the visible, this image will show up. Now, before I hit enter, I don't have a tag called fan. And also, of course, I got rid of it. Let me put that back in here, team. So when I hit enter, watch what it does. I'm going to hit enter. It's going to ask you, do you want to declare a video or declare a tag? Now, the fan tag really is only 2 states, on, off. So anything that's only 2 states, you want it to be a flag tag, not an integer. So before I complete this, I'm going to choose a flag tag for my type, and then I'll click the yes button. Bam. Now I get that new tag over there. That's awesome right there. I'm going to click the OK button. So that's the image that's going to show up when the fan is in the off state, when it's supposed to be off. The on state, I want it to be a rotating, I'm pretty sure I have a YouTube video on how to create the fan graphic, but anyway, I want it to be a rotating thing. So for this, for the on state, I'm going to go over the right to primitives. I'm going to go into the category called core primitives on top. And in the upper right-hand corner, there's an animated image thing, this IMG thing. I'm going to grab this and drag it out here like this. I'll place it right here. If you click away, it looks like it disappears because I have a white background. And this has white font on the IMG, so it's still there. Anyway, if I double click on it, bring up its properties, notice that Crimson automatically moved you to symbol factor on the right side. Well, I want to have 2 pictures of a fan, so I'm going to change the image count from 1 to 2. And over here on the right, if I'm in one of the cool fan animations, I'm going to grab the green one and I'll drag it out here like this. Notice that the blades on this one go straight up and down here. So if I go up one directory, I'm still in the blowers, etc. But I believe if I slide down, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows from the top, the left-hand column, there's a cool fan animation frame 2. Click on that guy one time. Once again, you get the same multicolored fans. But I'm going to grab the same green one and put it here. Notice this one has a fan blade about, I don't know, 30 degrees off compared to this one. I don't have my protractor out. Maybe it's 29 or 45 degrees. Anyway, it's slightly different. That's all that matters. But I need something right here that's going to oscillate between 0 and 1. So what I'm going to do is in the lower right-hand corner, if I go to System, and I think, is it here? Yeah. If you expand the variables tree, there's a function called disp count. And all that does is count the number of times the page gets updated forever, if you will. So I'm going to grab this disp count into here, but instead of that number continually counting up and down, or up, if you will, I want to just focus on bit number 0 of that thing. So I'm going to click out here a few times to where I finally get my cursor to blink after. And this is always a challenge in my class. But if you click to where you see the cursor blinking like it is right now, then I'll do a .0, enter, and that lets it focus on bit 0. And the only time I want this fan to show up turning is when the fan equals 1. So down here where it says show item, I'm just going to type fan space 2 equal signs, because I got to ask the question. And then on number 1, if it equals 1, show this turning, hit enter. There it is. I'll click the OK button down below. And I want this guy, the green one, to be the same size as this guy. So I'll right click on this guy and I will go to same size as, click this guy, and then I want to put this one right on top of this guy. The easiest way to do that is to go to line, centered on, click there. All right, there's my fan. Okay, so my goal of this is to turn the fan on when channel 1 goes above a set point. I'm going to do this 3 different ways in this video now that I'm set up here. So if I go over to data tags on the left, I'm going to click on channel 1. Here's the first way I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to this triggers tab. Go to the triggers tab. And on the triggers tab, you got this pull down here for trigger mode. You got data match, means if it equals a number, data mismatch. If it doesn't equal that number, absolute high means it's going above that number. Absolute low goes below some number. Rise in value and fall in value, you can set a limit for that. And change in values, basically a change above or below some number, if you will. Anyway, we're going to choose absolute high because I'm saying whenever channel 1 goes above a set point, I'm going to turn the fan on. So right here where it says value, I don't have a tag, but I'm going to type the word set point here because this is going to be my tag. Notice over here, there's no tag called set point. I'm going to hit enter. Crimson politely barks at me and says, hey, you don't have a tag there. Do you want to automatically create it? I'm going to say yes. And I want it to be an integer because it needs to be a number, not just 0, 1. It needs to be 25 or 85 degrees, whatever. So I'll say yes. All right, there it goes. Down here for the action. If I go above that, I want to turn on the AC, or not the AC, but the fan. So I'm going to go ahead and type fan here equals 1 equals sign to assign a value, and number 1, enter. So if it goes above the set point, it's going to turn the fan on. Let's pretend, team, that if it goes below the set point, we want to turn the fan off. So if I go down here, I'll say absolute low. And now that I already got a tag, I can either type set point here, or I can just grab it from the right there like that. And down here, I want to turn the fan off, so I'll type fan space 1 equals sign and a 0 to turn it off. It looks good to me. Before I move on, I am going to make the set point format the same as my channels. So over here on the left, I'm going to right click on set point, and I'll say copy from, copy format, and click on channel 1 or channel 2, it don't matter. The beauty of that is it lets me get the 3 and 1. All right, now I'm going to point out something to you, team. I did not set the set point as retentive because I want you to see what happens here when we first do this, and then we'll do this again. So let me go over here to display pages. Let me go to the right side. I'm going to grab this set point. I'll drag it out here like this. Make this guy be the same size as one of these. I'll copy from, all formatted like that. And then since this is going to be a field that the operator is going to change, I'm going to do 2 things. I'll double click on it. I want to change the operation here from display only to data entry. Notice when you do that, you get inverted colors. That means it's turned on data entry. And then I always like, anytime I have a data entry box, I like to go to the edge tab and give it a border. That way the operator knows where to click. So I'll give it a border, maybe 2 or 3 pixels. I'll pick red. There we go. All right, let's download this. You know what? Let's download this over Ethernet. Let's see if we can do this. Can we go here? Can I hit the find button? Let's see if it finds it. I got a bunch of stuff here. There it is. Oh, that's awesome. So if I go ahead and click on it or click OK, there it is. Let's hit the, I'm going to disconnect my USB. I turned it off, but it didn't make noise. All right, let's go here. Right there, download over Ethernet. Perfect. So if I go back to the web browser, first off, I want you to point something out. Channel 1 is currently above the set point. And if I squeeze the channel, why isn't the fan on? According to the logic under triggers of channel 1, we said, hey, whenever this goes above the set point, turn the fan off or on. And when it goes below, turn it off. But clearly you can see it's not the case. And the reason it's not is because the triggers tabs are actually rising edge or falling edge. So this number here has to physically go above this before it even triggers. Now, right now, when we started this off, it's way down below. It's at 0. So it's already way above it. It didn't actually transition from below above to trigger. So if I put this guy at, say, 80 degrees, for instance, now it's at 80. If I take my thermocouple and go above 80, let's see what happens here. Get close. Look, above 80, the fan's on. And of course, when it comes below 80, it ought to go off. Let's see what happens here. Perfect. So that worked good. However, I just want you to remember, the drawback to that is it's got a transition from below to above. So keep that in mind with the triggers. Let's do this another way where we don't have that problem. So I'm going to go back here to set point. I'm also going to make the storage retentive. So the next time I download, it keeps the value. But instead of doing this logic at the triggers tab for channel 1, and you saw the negative to that is that it has to transition from below to above. Instead, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to disable both of these options, disabled. And instead, I'm going to write that same logic over in a C program that always checks the condition. So if I go over here to the left, go to programs on the left, and I'm going to write a C program, simple program. I'm going to say if, open parentheses, channel 1 space is greater than or equal to, drag the set point out here like this, close parentheses, that's my condition. I'll hit enter, tab across, I do open squiggly brackets, and then I'll put some comments. I'll say turn on the fan by doing 2 forward slashes. That makes that a comment. I'll hit enter. And to turn on the fan, I'm just going to drag the fan out here like this, space, equals 1 equal sign to assign a value, 1 semicolon. It's the end of that statement. Enter, close brackets, and that's it. So if the fan goes above the set point, I'm going to turn on that. You could also do, well, I'm going to do another way here then. You could do else. Let's try this today. Let's do else, enter. So if that condition above is not true, we're going to turn the fan off. Let's see if this works. Like that. So, and I might add this text again here. There. So if this condition is true, else do this. Let's see if this works. I'm not convinced this else will work, but we'll try it. So anytime you write code in here, you got to translate. This little button right here, this green button here is to translate. If you wrote your code correctly, it will accept it and turn green. If you forget something, Crimson will politely during the compiler tell you where it is and kind of give you a pointer as to what you forgot. So in that case, I got rid of the semicolon. All right, let me do that. Hold on here, team. All right, so now we got the code correct. We need to call this program. And the easiest place that I want to call it is over on the left. I'm going to click on Display Pages. I'm going to click on the word Pages up above here. And you have on the Global tab, you have on Power Up, Startup, Tick, and on Update. Since it's really not that important that the fan go on and off really quick, why is this phone ringing so much? Call that guy back later. I'm going to use it on the on tick. So I'm going to go over to the right side and go to Programs on the right side. And I'm going to grab the program one and put it right here into the on tick field. So that will call it every second. And that program will take about 3.5 milliseconds to run. Whatever, I just made that number. It's fast. All right. So let's go ahead and download this to it. Notice, team, I'm doing something really risky today. I haven't saved this database at all. So that's kind of risky. But let me go ahead and download this to our said screen. Let's see what happens here. So I want you to notice, team, oh, this is wonderful. Compared to the previous example, where the set point was at 0, but we were using the Triggers tab, it didn't turn on the fan. This did. You see that? Because this came in as, I didn't have it retentive, so it didn't know it was before. But now, if I change this to 80, it goes off, and if I squeeze the thermocouple, works perfectly. You might notice a small delay because it's running every once a second, so it might take a second for it to trigger off, but no big deal. Look, perfect. So that's another way you can do the same code. I prefer this method most of the time over triggers, depending on the situation. So this is happening here in the program. Let me go one more step in this whole video. We did this, like I said, last week's class. So I'm going to get rid of calling that on the tick. And since I have the Crimson control module on here, let's write a simple ladder logic program that does it, shall we? So let's go over here to the left and go to Control on the left. And if I click on the program here, this is my program, I can do a couple things. I'm going to right click here, go to Convert, and I want this to show up as a ladder diagram. My phone is ringing. Hold on, team. So over here in the ladder logic version, I'm going to go over here to function blocks on the right side. And on function blocks, I think I'll go into comparison because we were just doing this earlier, the greater than thing. So there's all these function blocks. I'm going to grab this greater than one right here. So if it's greater than or equal to, I'll drag this guy here like this, put it right there. Okay, this is wonderful. And if you ever want to know how these function blocks operate, you can always right click on these over here. You can do show help info. And Crimson should bring you to the document. So this one here shows you the input, first one, second one is the comparison thing, and then the output is the Q. That's exactly what I want to use, so great. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and double click here on the input to add a variable, and I'm just going to call this, I'm going to leave it as the default name variable1. It's going to be not a Boolean, but it's going to be an integer. So I'm going to hit the pull down here and choose an integer type. I can do unsigned integer. I can also just do int right here, int. All right, I'll do that. I'm going to double click on the number 2. I'll leave it as variable. That's actually going to be our set point, but I'll show you here in a second. I'll do an integer there. And then over here for the output, we'll call that variable 3. And we're going to make that a Boolean, not a integer. That's got to be a bool. Make it a Boolean. Click yes. Okay, so there's my code. There are 3 little buttons here. This one here will check your syntax, no errors. This one here will compile your program, there's no errors. And this one does some project cleanup. I don't know what that does. But I want to link variable 1 to my channel 1 input. Variable 2 is going to go to my set point. And variable 3 is going to go to my fan. So on the left-hand side here, if you watch here, I click on variable 1. Watch this, team. If I go to the lower right-hand corner, I go to data tags on the right side. I'm going to grab channel 1, which are from the HMI side of this application. I'm going to drag channel 1 and put it right here, boom, into the source field. So that's going to link that to channel 1. That's perfect. If I go to variable 2, I'm going to grab my set point and put it right here, boom. That's going to take care of that. And then if I go to variable 3, that's going to be my fan. So I'm going to drag my fan and put it right here. It'll be nice as if these pictures here would show an X or a flag for what type they are. They don't. That would be nice. Anyway, one thing I'll tell you about variable 2, which is my set point, I'm going to make it retentive here. I think it has to be retentive here, which circumvents the retentive setting here at the HMI side. I think. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. Anyway, back to my program here. Where did my program go? No. All right. So here we are. Let me go back to here. So I'm going to click on the programs. I'm going to go ahead and click the syntax. Make sure there's no errors. Looks perfect. I'm going to hit the build button. No errors there. Perfect. Okay, let's test this. So, well, let's go ahead and download it. Let's just see what happens here. I'm going to go ahead and download it. All right, so you can see the set point went back to 0 because the Crimson control overrode the HMI side of being retentive. So if I put this time at 80, you can see, bam, it stopped. And of course, if I squeeze the temperature go above 80, there's the logic. It's working now in here. You might ask, is it really working here? Well, wait a minute. Watch this. If I go back to Crimson, hit the little pull down here, I can debug this online. So if I click debug online, look at here. I have the live values that are showing up here in the web browser. So let me move this Yahoo just over here a little bit like this, make it squeeze it a little bit. So if I change my set point to say 85, look, variable 2 changed correctly. And now if I squeeze my thermocouple, you can see right there, if I go above 85, boom, there's the code run and let go of it, drops below 85, goes off. Isn't that sweet? So we just did the same example 3 ways, and this is exactly what we did last week in class. We did one where we set it off the triggers tab, and that worked for a while, but we realized with the triggers that you have to transition from below above or below above and below for it to actually trigger. So it's not probably the best. And then we went to programs where we wrote a simple program that runs once a second. This continually checks the status to do the output, which is awesome. That's great. That works in the C form. That worked good. And then we also went a step further. Since we have the Crimson control module, you can actually run ladder logic in here and do this. Now here's something cool too. I'm running this in the ladder logic part. If I right click over here in program and go to convert, I can convert this to structured text, which shows up like that. Or I can right click on this and go to instruction list, which is more like our C program. Well, it's more like assembly language. Oh, I hated that college. And then if I right click on this and go to function block diagram, this is what I really like. Here's the function block diagram of that same thing. So if I compile, no errors, go ahead and debug this online. Let's see what it does here. I can see it refreshing. So here it is. This is the function block. And of course, if I warm that up, that's it. And I like that view better myself. But hey, that's just me. Anyway, that's a pretty cool video. That was 30 minutes of what we did in probably an hour time class last week. Is there a way you can run this in the emulator? Let me look at something here. Hold on. Don't say sold yet. I'm going to go back to this program. I'm going to save this real quick here. I'm going to save this as just something. Today's date, 23/10/11. It's going to save it. I want to know if I go to the link pull down, go down here to options, if I send this to the emulator, let me try this. I'm going to try this. Send to the emulator. And since the emulator doesn't have the real I/O cards, I am going to do one thing different. Over here at data tags, I'm going to change my channel 1 and channel 2 from where they're being mapped to the real things. I'll make them internal. Why it goes to floating point, I don't know, but they should be integers. So I'll make these go to internal integers. And then if I go over display pages, click on my display page, I'm going to make both of these data entry by clicking the little button there. I'm going against my rules here, but I want to see what happens. So let me try this. I'm going to try this in the emulator. I'll hit save. I got the emulator turned on because this icon here. If I hit the download, let's see what it does here. Let's see what it does. All right, so currently we got zeros all around. If I put in a set point of 80 degrees, you got to use the pointer here. There we are. So I'm mimicking here, team, my temperature. So I've got to play here. If I pretend I'm at 75 degrees, there I am. If it's 78.5, but if I'm at 82, let's see what happens. That's interesting. I would have thought that that would have went on. Didn't I have, hold on. Well, that's interesting. Let me, let me do this. Hold on. That says true. That's weird. But, where'd my emulator go here? Well, maybe the emulator doesn't work with the Crimson Control. I don't know. That's fascinating. I wonder about this, though. Hold on. Since I'm running the emulator right here, let me go shut the emulator down. And I'm going to turn off this logic engine here by clicking Project, and I'll say Do Not Execute. That'll turn off Crimson Control completely. And if I go back to my display pages, let me go ahead and add my original program back to on tick right here. Let's download this to the emulator. Let's see here. Maybe Crimson Control doesn't work on the emulator. I don't know. Let's try it. So there it is. If I put this at 79 degrees, if I put it at 85, there it works. So apparently the Crimson Control, at least in this database, doesn't run in the emulator. That's interesting. But the rest of this does, which is pretty cool. Hey, thanks a lot, folks. Really long video. I just wanted to show it. I thought it was really cool. We did this in last week's class, and we're going to do it again next week's class. I was really impressed with this 3-step thing. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you later, team. Bye.